For every beloved young Sheldon character, there is also one hated by everyone, Pastor Jeff Difford. This man shows up in 45 episodes across all 7 seasons. 45. That is not a guest appearance. That is a full-time commitment to being insufferable. And look, early on, he's mostly harmless. He's the small-town pastor who has to deal with a 9-year-old questioning his theology about alien octopuses in season 2. That's fine. That's funny. You can live with that version of Pastor Jeff. But the moment Georgie gets Mandy pregnant, something shifts. Pastor Jeff turns into the physical embodiment of everything wrong with judgmental church communities. At the end of season 5, he pressures Mary into taking a leave of absence from the church because, and this is the actual reasoning, church leaders are held to a higher standard. Think about that. Mary didn't do anything. Her teenage son made a decision, and somehow that's Mary's fault because she sits in the front row on Sundays. Season 6 shows the full fallout. Mary shows up to church and can feel she's not welcome anymore. Her entire identity and support system turns its back on her.
I have enough. Let's go. Sure.
Please give us the strength to reflect your abundant love.
And Pastor Jeff is the gatekeeper who let it happen. But Pastor Jeff is not even the worst church character. And the one who is might actually be more dangerous because he doesn't look like a threat. Pastor Rob walks into the show as this cool, young, modern youth pastor. The kids like him. The parents like him. Mary really likes him. And that right there is the problem. The wiki literally lists Mary as an implied lust relationship for Pastor Rob. Not a friendship, not a mentorship, implied lust. So while George Sr. is at home trying to hold the family together, paying bills, coaching football, dealing with a genius son he cannot relate to, and 2 other kids who need attention, there's this guy at church who is a little too close to his wife. And fans noticed. They noticed immediately.
Why are you in my bed?
Why are you?
This is wrong.
Does it feel wrong?
The worst part is that Pastor Rob acts like the good guy the entire time. He even gets upset when Pastor Jeff punishes Mary over the Georgie situation. So he's defending her publicly while being the exact kind of temptation that could destroy her marriage privately. That combination of fake concern and real threat is why a lot of viewers put him near the top of their least favorite list. He's not openly evil. He just creates chaos while pretending to be helpful. And that's worse.
I hear we're having a baby. What, did I miss it?
What is he doing here?
Now, here's why those two matter beyond just being annoying. Because while the church is busy judging the Cooper family, there is a man inside that family quietly holding everything together. And the show spent 7 seasons proving he deserved way better than the reputation he got. George Cooper Sr. This is a man that The Big Bang Theory told you was basically a joke. Adult Sheldon spent years describing his dad as a crude, beer-drinking, not-that-bright Texas football coach. And then, young Sheldon showed you the real George. A guy who turned down a better-paying job in Tulsa because his family did not want to move. A guy who bonded with Missy during puberty because Mary was too busy with Sheldon to notice her daughter growing up. A guy who got frustrated when someone else took credit for his football wins, but never took it out on his kids. And then there is the VCR tape. In The Big Bang Theory, adult Sheldon finds a recording of George giving a speech to his players about how losing does not make you a loser, and that you learn from failure.
If we do lose, you need to know that doesn't make you lose. You learn as much about who you are and what you're made of from failing as you do from success.
That tape actually helped Sheldon in a moment when nothing else could. The show took Sheldon's worst memory of his father and proved it wrong. And then there is the cheating retcon. Big Bang Theory said Sheldon caught his dad with another woman. Young Sheldon season 7 said no. That woman was Mary. They were role-playing. Sheldon misunderstood what he saw as a kid. The writers found a loophole that preserved Sheldon's memory while sparing George from actually cheating. And that matters, because it means the version of George that fans grew attached to over 7 seasons was never contradicted by the one thing that could have ruined him. But George is not the only Cooper man who got a raw deal and stepped up anyway. Because the person who carried this family after George died, that is the kid nobody expected anything from. Georgie Cooper Jr., the ultimate underdog. This kid starts the show as the older brother who cannot even avoid being in the same high school classes as his 9-year-old sibling. That is humiliating, and nobody in the family really acknowledges it. But Georgie does not quit. He discovers he has sales talent in season 3. He works for Dale. He gets fired and finds another hustle. He lies about his age to Mandy, which is genuinely bad. But when the truth comes out, he does not run. He steps up. He becomes a father. He tries to speak more properly in front of his daughter because even Audrey's criticism got to him. He marries Mandy. And then George Sr. dies. And everything we saw Georgie building over 7 seasons suddenly makes sense. because Big Bang Theory already told us what happens next. Adult Georgie tells Sheldon that after their dad died, Mary was devastated. Missy was a teenager, and Georgie had to take care of all of them.
Your dad died. Who do you think took care of everything?
Mom always took care of everything.
Mom was a mess. Missy was a dumb teenager. I had to look after both of them.
While Sheldon left for Caltech, Georgie stayed. He eventually becomes the owner of Dr. Tire, the most successful tire chain in Texas, and the brother who held the whole family together while the genius was off winning Nobel Prizes. That is why he is a fan favorite, not because he is smart, because he showed up when it mattered. So, you've got George and Georgie, two guys who sacrificed for their family and got almost no credit for it. And that makes the next batch of hated characters hit even harder, because these are the people who actively made life worse for the Coopers, who were already struggling. Audrey McAllister, Mandy's mom. She does not even show up until season 6. Which means she had way less screen time than almost anyone else on this list, and she still made the hate list. That should tell you everything about how quickly she got under people's skin. From the second she meets Georgie in that uncomfortable dinner with Jim, it is clear she thinks he is beneath her daughter. She judges his speech, she judges his background, his age, his family. The baby shower episode turns into a full war between Mary and Audrey over whose grandmother style wins.
We're not her family.
We're that baby's family. Georgie's right across the street.
I'm sure a teenage boy is going to be a lot of help.
And when Georgie and Mandy try to plan their wedding in season 7, it becomes a Mary vs. Audrey battlefield, with baby Cece caught in the middle. Some fans have defended Audrey by saying her protectiveness is realistic for a mom whose daughter got pregnant by a teenager who lied about his age. And honestly, that is fair. But the show never frames her as reasonable. It frames her as an obstacle, and most of the audience followed. But the most polarizing character on this entire show is not Audrey or Pastor Jeff. It is someone much closer to home, Mary Cooper. Mary might be the single most divisive character in all of young Sheldon, and the reason is actually kind of tragic, because everything Mary does comes from a real place. Mary's intense faith is tied to Missy's birth complications, and the show frames a lot of her parenting through fear and control. Her religion is not just a preference. It is a trauma response. She almost lost a child, and Christianity became the thing that held her together. So when she hovers over Sheldon, when she controls his future, when she hides college letters from him and George in season 3.
You want to tell me about this? And when were you going to tell me?
You are making a big deal out of nothing.
Because she is not ready to let him grow up. She is not doing it to be evil. She is terrified. But here is why fans still turn on her. Because her fear does not just affect Sheldon. It swallows everyone else in the family. Missy explicitly says she feels neglected. In the season 2 twin study, the show literally proves that Missy is perceptive and emotionally intelligent, while Sheldon is analytical. They are equals in completely different ways. But Mary does not see it. She is too focused on the kid who needs protecting. And Georgie? Mary once described her other children as dumb as soup on The Big Bang Theory. That line becomes so much worse after you watch 7 seasons of young Sheldon and see that Georgie became a successful tire businessman, and Missy was the emotional backbone of the family. Dumb as soup is not just inaccurate, it is cruel. That is the Mary problem. She is not a villain. She is a fully realized flawed parent, whose love is distributed so unevenly that it damages the kid she is supposed to be raising equally. And she is not the only polarizing presence in this family's orbit. Dale Ballard refuses to let Missy play baseball because she's a girl, fires Georgie harshly after a store robbery, even though the money gets repaid, and generally acts like gruffness is a personality.
All the money was gone. Here, take it.
You're fired.
Really? But
Get out of my store.
Brenda Sparks starts as the Coopers' loud neighbor and ends up listed as George Sr.'s flirtation interest. Mary confronts Brenda about George in season 6. And whether you think that confrontation is justified depends entirely on which Cooper you are rooting for. Even Mandy splits the room. Mandy is absolutely hurt by Georgie lying about being 21, though the situation is messier because Mandy also lied about being 25. Some fans feel she takes Georgie for granted after he steps up. And then there is Sheldon himself, the title character. As the seasons go on, something interesting happens. The ensemble gets better, and Sheldon does not grow at the same rate. Early on, he is this vulnerable little kid trying to survive a world that does not understand him. But by season 5 and 6, the family is dealing with teen pregnancy, job loss, church exile, neglect, rebellion, real marriage strain, and Sheldon is over in the corner worried about whether his database works or if his college professor respects him enough. His problems start feeling small, Not because they are small, but because the show built such a strong ensemble that Sheldon's intellectual struggles cannot compete with the emotional weight of what his family is going through. And that right there is the perfect setup for why the remaining loved characters hit as hard as they do. Because everything you just heard about Mary's neglect, about the church's judgment, about Sheldon absorbing all the oxygen in the room, there were people in this family who lived through all of that and still showed up for others. Missy Cooper, the twin who got the short end of every single stick. She is perceptive, funny, emotionally sharp, and nobody in her family treats any of that like it matters. Season 6, episode 15 is basically the thesis statement for why so many viewers love her. Sheldon's database fails and the family rallies around his problem. Meanwhile, Missy is dealing with real teenage pain and nobody even notices. That episode sets it up, and S6E16 pays it off when Missy steals George's truck and hits the road with Paige. She rebels because nobody is paying attention to her. And then in season 7, when everything falls apart, Missy is the one who steps up at home while Mary and Sheldon are in Germany. Back in the season 4 premiere, her graduation advice to Sheldon becomes one of her defining moments. She tells him it is okay to be scared, you just have to do it anyway. A line that proves Missy understood more about life at 14 than Sheldon understood with all his IQ points combined.
You're scared? Yeah, so what do? I guess be scared and do it anyway.
Mima is loved for a different reason. She supports Sheldon's gifts without suffocating him. She drives him to college in season 1. She works on science projects with him. She becomes his legal client when he tries to be her lawyer in season 7. But she also has her own whole messy life. She dates Sturgis, breaks up, dates Dale, opens an illegal gambling room, gets arrested, faces probation. She is warm and protective, but also kind of morally chaotic. And fans love that combination because she feels real. She is not performing goodness. She is just existing as a complicated woman who happens to also be a phenomenal grandmother. Dr. Sturgis rounds out the top tier. An IQ of 162, a gentle soul, genuine care for Sheldon as a student, and a vulnerability that makes him deeply human. After his breakdown, season 3 shows him recovering in a mental institution, and later he ends his relationship with Mima because he is honest about what he is going through. He does not fake stability. He admits he is struggling.
We go downstairs and I'll fix us both a nice cup of hot tea and you can tell me all about it.
Okay.
And a lot of viewers responded to that. In a show full of characters desperately trying to hold it together, Sturgis is the one who says he cannot. And that honesty made people love him. And then the wild cards, characters who do not land cleanly on either list. Paige Swanson only appears in 9 episodes, but she hits hard because she is Sheldon's true prodigy mirror. Same level of genius, worse family support, more visible emotional damage. Her parents divorce, her grades slip, she starts shoplifting and dragging people into bad situations. Some fans love her for showing what happens when a gifted kid does not get stability. Others cannot stand her for pulling Sheldon and Missy into her chaos. Billy Sparks is the opposite kind of surprise. Big Bang Theory painted him as Sheldon's childhood bully. Young Sheldon made him sweet, slow, harmless, and kind of lovable. That retcon alone is enough to put Billy on most people's soft spot list. And Linkletter starts as the professor who openly cannot stand Sheldon's ego. Then, by season 7, he and Sturgis both admit Sheldon has outgrown East Texas Tech and should move on.
Sheldon, you can't stay here.
You've outgrown us, and
We're proud to have been a small part of your journey.
That arc from annoyance to begrudging respect is quiet, but fans noticed. So here is the pattern underneath all of this. Every single fan favorite character on this show is loved because they paid attention to someone else's pain. George noticed Missy when Mary did not. Georgie took care of the family when Sheldon could not. Missy saw through everyone's walls when nobody saw through hers. Mima treated Sheldon like a person instead of a project. Sturgis was honest about his own limits. And every hated character did the opposite. Pastor Jeff judged instead of helped. Pastor Rob pretended to care while creating problems. Audrey looked down instead of across.
This is the father. The bill is paid. We leave it.
Mary noticed one child and forgot the other 2. The entire most loved versus most hated debate comes down to one question. When someone in the family was hurting, did this character show up for them or make it worse? That is not a question about intelligence or being right. It is about emotional usefulness. And the wild irony of young Sheldon is that the show named after the smartest person in the room ended up proving that being smart is the least important thing about being a good person. If you made it this far, go check out this video right here. Trust me, you will love it.